basically currency is nothing but a measure of trade internationally. And for most countries in the world, they store their reserve assets in US dollars. Here's what you need to know before the bell. The dollar has been under pressure. And of course, this recent narrative is nobody wants the dollar. Everybody's selling the dollar because, it's the end of the world order as we know it, and it's de-dollarization. Nobody wants to own US Treasuries anymore. It's just absolutely terrible. It's just this massive decline in the dollar, and it certainly has been a pretty decent decline in the dollar. We went from about 110 to 99 on the US dollar index. Very, very important here. That is mostly nonsense because you have to put things into some context. I put a post out last night about this as well. Yes, the dollar has been in decline, but again, if we switch this, as is always the case, to looking at a little bit kind of a longer term time frame and putting this into some level of perspective as we go through this, you start to see a very different picture emerge about the dollar. So this is a monthly chart of the dollar going back, let's just go back 20 years to make it easy. This is a 20-year chart of the dollar. Does that look like a dollar collapse to you? I mean, this is, yes, the dollar is declining here. We've been currently trading. We were extremely overbought on a technical basis after this massive rally that we had over the last couple of years in particular. And remember, just about 2 years ago, Michael and I were writing articles about there is no de-dollarization going on. The dollar had been declining a couple of years ago, and it was all about de-dollarization in the markets, and we had this little fall off in the dollar here, right here in 2020. And it's like, nobody wants the dollar. It's all de-dollars. It's the debts, it's the deficits, it's, oh my gosh, it's panic. And that was the actual bottom of the dollar right there. And then we had this huge rally in the dollar post that. Got extremely overbought on a technical basis. Been working off that, basically just been consolidating in the dollar now for really ever since 2022. Really haven't gone anywhere in the dollar. Yes, we could certainly go a little bit lower. 91 on the dollar index is certainly possible here. That's a retest of a very long-term moving average. Technically speaking, that would still be well within the bullish trend because, again, if we kind of back this up and just look at a long-term basis of the dollar, we've been in a consistently rising trend ever since 2008. But again, we've had these variations in the dollars over history, and it's just a balance of currencies and trade. So again, not surprising with tariffs going on, where if I'm a foreign country and I have reserve assets, where do I store them? Well, I store them in US dollars because it's stable and it's safe. Well, if there's something going on, say for instance you're going to impose a tariff on me, or if there's something going on in the financial markets where I need to recall my reserve currency because maybe my currency is going up relative to the US dollar, so I don't want to lose money in my reserve assets, so I pull them back into my currency. That happens, right, from time to time. And so we see this movement of flows relative to what's happening in currencies because basically currency is nothing but a measure of trade internationally. And for most countries in the world, they store their reserve assets in US dollars. How do I store reserve assets in US dollars? Well, I can buy US Treasuries. I can buy gold because it trades in dollars. I can buy US stocks. And that's what's been going on. And so now that we have this tariff impact coming on, and people are concerned, countries are concerned about the impact of tariffs on their economy, if they pull their reserve currency back, they can pull it out of treasuries, they can pull it out of stocks, and we've seen that rotation here lately. That's exactly what's been going on. So again, don't get too wound up in these big kind of overall metric, kind of headlines about de-dollarization and all this. 70% of the world trade still happens in dollars. That's not going anywhere, even with tariffs, because it's a highly liquid, highly safe currency that everybody uses for global transactions. That's not going to change. We may go through variations, may go through short-term blips in asset prices, but again, you got to keep this in some type of perspective. And again, just, we were extremely overbought, working that off, but that's what you need to know before the bell this morning.